Hey there, this is author and weeb Natalie Hunter here once again with some more ReZero content this time. I've actually been rereading the ReZero web novel ever since it was announced that season 2 would be delayed, which is one of the reasons why I'm making so many videos about ReZero at the moment. But I also think it's probably one of the best series of recent years, and definitely worth taking a deeper look at, due to the amount of complexity to the characters and the story that Tappei's written. With the web novel and all of the side content that Tappei's put out, the anime was really only able to scratch the surface of what's been established about even the main character, Natsuki Subaru, and so I wanted to make a video with 5 interesting facts about him that you may not know if you're anime only. There will be some minor spoilers in here for season 2 because a lot of the things we learn about Subaru come out during an incident in Arc 4 where we get to actually see Subaru interacting with his original world. It's not really a flashback, but we do get to learn quite a lot about Subaru's family and what his life was like in Japan before he was isekai'd. I don't know how much of that part of the arc is going to make it into the anime, but spoiler warnings anyway, in case you're trying to avoid any information at all about the upcoming season. So, without further ado, let's look at 5 interesting facts about Natsuki Subaru. Number 1. Subaru's birthday is actually on April the 1st, also known, of course, as April Fool's Day. There could be an element there of the author wanting us to associate Subaru with being a general backer, but I think that the symbolism there actually relates more to the Fool as a card in the tarot. I could be massively overthinking this and doing one of those English literature kind of reading too much into all of the symbolism kind of analyses. But with the various biblical, astronomical, and Greek mythological stuff packed into ReZero as symbolism, it really wouldn't surprise me if the tarot made an appearance too. In a tarot deck, the Fool card represents somebody starting out on a journey with a kind of foolish optimism, without really knowing what's ahead of them, ready to make quite a lot of mistakes as a result of their innocence and, in some ways, ignorance. This really does sound a lot like Subaru at the start of the story, or in fact really any isekai protagonist who finds themselves in a new world, expecting that everything is going to work out brilliantly. Another interesting thing to know about Subaru's birthday is that it's on this day each year that Tappei releases a new If side story, which are alternate versions of the ReZero story based on Subaru succumbing to each of the deadly sins. Fact number 2. Subaru actually really is a shut-in. It's kind of played with a lot of the time in isekai stories that the main character is kind of a nerd or otaku. But in the case of Natsuki Subaru, he actually does suffer from the real-world problem known in Japan as Hikikomori. This is where people, usually young men, withdraw from society and shut themselves away, also becoming NEETs, as in not in education, employment or training. In Subaru's case, we discover this through seeing what his life was like in the old world. He actually had a form of agoraphobia which prevented him from leaving the house to go to school, suffering from daily panic attacks when it was nearly time to get ready to leave. After being isekai'd, Subaru obviously overcame his problems with being out in the world and interacting with people, but we do see him use his experience as a recovered Hikikomori when it comes to dealing with people like Beatrice. There aren't many isekai protagonists who share the trait of being genuine Hikikomori rather than simply socially anxious or introverted people. In fact, probably the most solid example of a Hikikomori protagonist other than Subaru would be Shiro and Sora from No Game No Life. But now on to something a little bit less depressing that we learn about Subaru when we see him interacting with the old world. Subaru and his entire family have a really quite disgusting relationship with mayonnaise. Each of them has a tube in the fridge with their name on it that they like to take out and suck on, basically just slurping the mayonnaise out of the tube. Subaru isn't actually as into this as his parents, and really it seems kind of just goes along with it because he thinks of it as a family tradition. But we do see references to mayonnaise in Subaru, trying to bring it to the new isekai world, and also in Isekai Quartet in the weird chicken wing dodgeball episode. Make of all of this what you will. Another fairly amusing fact about Subaru is that he gains a number of titles later in the story, one of which is particularly embarrassing for him. Once Subaru has been named as Emilia's knight, he's probably expecting people to start calling him something cool sounding, but instead, owing to the fact he usually has at least one little girl with him, in the form of Beatrice, people have come to start calling him the Lollymancer. Subaru is quite keen for people to know that he isn't a lolicon of any sort, but unfortunately for him, it definitely looks like he has some kind of complex given the frequency of him being spotted with little girls all around him. Now for the final fact about Subaru, his weapon of choice is actually a bullwhip, of the same style used by Indiana Jones. In fact, it's even said in the web novel that he chooses the weapon most often seen used by famous archaeologists in movies. We probably won't get to see Subaru using his whip in Season 2, given he doesn't finish training with it and begin using it properly until Arc 5. Given the length of Arc 4, I really think that that's probably all they'll be able to cover in the season, but it's cool to know that in the future you will get to see not only Subaru using a bullwhip in combat, but also parkour, which is something else that he trains to do in the time skip in between Arcs 4 and 5. Subaru does have some training with swords as well, owing to some kendo that he did when he was still living in Japan, but he accepted that it would take him a good number of years to get any good at using a sword, and that's one of the reasons he opted for the whip. He's trained to use the whip by a character called Clind, who is a butler that we'll see at the start of Arc 5. He's also the person who helps Subaru train his parkour. So, I hope you enjoyed those 5 facts about Natsuki Subaru. I hope they were a little bit different from the things you usually get to see on those top 5 facts lists. And if you did like this content, please like and subscribe. I have plans to do some more of these videos talking about other characters from ReZero, as well as content about other isekai anime series and other anime from the current season. My channel's pretty new, so I really need the love, so I very much appreciate if you do subscribe. Other than that, you can also support me by checking out my books on Amazon, though I have to warn you they are pretty lewd and not safe for kids. So only check them out if you're not of a sweet and innocent persuasion and you're also not a minor. Thank you. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.